Hi everyone, it's Rax. We've been blasting Diablo 4 all week. We just got a bunch of information about the new season coming out. So we're working to bring you all the normal videos that are going to help you crush next season. I'm going to start with one of the most important ones right now. The leveling guide will have the Nightmare Dungeon tier list, the best build guides, things like that. I'm going to have a video about doing an example of a math problem about what exactly did they change. In case it's all confusing to you, we'll clarify that. But let's start with something that everyone's going to use, the leveling guide. I always update the leveling guide and everything in this sheet. You don't have to take any notes. I'll post the sheet down below. Everybody can use it. There's already 32 people looking at it. Okay, so for the leveling guide, I actually made two versions of it because people are going to want to play different ways. One way is where you'll have a lot of fun playing in the overworld. You really won't be that far behind the try hard version. And this is going to be a lot more rewarding, as I'll explain in a second. Or if you want to race to 100 and see how fast you can get there, because they dramatically buff the XP, have a huge thunderstorm going on behind us, so we might hear some thunder. Um, the people who are try-harding are going to do something that's a lot less fun and a lot less rewarding. You're just going to chain run dungeons essentially until you're 100 and not engage with any of the cool new stuff that Blizzard has for us. So what exactly did Blizzard change as far as XP? Well, there's a lot of other multipliers, and they also changed the base XP and the rewards for a lot of things. So in general, you're going to level up about 40% faster to 100 than you ever did before. So if you were stuck at like 70 or 75, you're pretty much going to be 100. So the main theme here is they're buffing the overworld. They want all the players to go into the overworld and do all the events and the hell tides and the whispers and the grim favors that no one has been doing. Also, the Blood Harvest, the new theme for Season 2, is also outdoors. It's like a Hell Tide that starts at level 1. It's going to be important. So, as you can see here, the Grim Favors go up 200%. Hell Tide has a colossal increase, and each Whisper is going up between 75 and 150%. The dungeon ones are these T3 Whispers because they reward the most Grim Favors. So, if you level up in the overworld, you're going to have everything. You're going to have the vampiric powers. You're going to have lots of flowers to craft all of your favorite elixirs. You're probably going to have way more materials. You're going to have way better gear, probably more legendaries. You're more gold, everything. You're going to have everything better. You will probably be a little bit slower than the people that are doing the try-hard version. Try-hard version will be faster. You're going to have the exact opposite. Less items, less gold, less legendary powers, no flowers, maybe no vampiric powers. It's going to be rough. So let's go for the overworld and fun explanation first, because I think more people are going to have a lot more fun doing this. So you go to Maxroll and pick a leveling build, seasonal, world tier 1 or 2 if you're comfortable. Shouldn't be too bad on world tier 2 if you're leveling in the overworld, because all of the events will have people doing it as well. So you're usually not playing by yourself. Even if you're playing by yourself, you should have some help. And then skip the campaign unless you're dying to do it again, but we'll see the bosses later as Uber versions anyway. The campaign will definitely be slower. You get to claim all renown now. So just open up your renown tab. You should be able to claim it all if you've got to level 5 renown in the past. Hardcore, softcore, they clarified that. Now, one important thing is you need to do the vampire quest line immediately. Let me show you why. So I'm here in game with a brand new character. And you'll see when I start a season 1 character, I got to talk to this guy, and he's got this weird symbol that we haven't seen. This is the seasonal symbol, and he tells us to go over here and help Kyrie Irving. He's in a cave or something. And only after you've done those first 2 parts, then the season of the malignant opens up to you, and you can actually start to get the caged hearts. So I'm assuming it's going to work exactly the same way. So you should push the vampire quest line as far as you can right away. That way you can start getting the vampiric powers and start engaging with the seasonal theme. That's going to make you a lot stronger. Then from here, it's just all about the overworld. So let's talk about some of the different things you can do in the overworld. The Legion events appear every 25 minutes. It's now more often. This should be your top priority. If you see that a Legion event is spawning or anybody talking about a Legion event, hear that thunder? That's what you should go for. They have a massive buff in the patch, and they already were one of the best leveling things in the game. So they're very rewarding. I think at a certain level, they also guarantee a legendary drop. You should be going for these every single time that they're up and drop whatever you're doing. From there, you will be completing Whispers, which the rewards for Whispers are Grim Favors, and you turn in the Grim Favors at the Tree of Whispers. All of this has had a massive buff, not just in XP, but in the rewards that you're giving you. So how would I approach this? One of the best ways to do this is to look for a Grim Favor that is also a dungeon. It looks like this with a little door. So I would be looking, after I did the seasonal introductory quest, I would be looking to go clear Conclave. Gives me 5 Grim Favors, and it's a Whisper. So after you do 2 of those, you can go over here to the Tree of Whispers and turn it in, and your wealth is just going to start to build massively. So that way, when you go to World Tier 3 and World Tier 4, when you're there and you're scared, if you have a bunch of materials that the dungeon people don't have, you'll have better elixirs, you'll upgrade your items more, you'll have better items starting with, it's going to be a lot more comfortable. Okay, so it's a very nice way to level up. The world bosses are next in line. A warning, Blizzard made some really necessary changes to the world bosses. They made them harder, but they now have significantly better rewards, or substantially better rewards. So these world bosses should, for once again, be fun, because before you would just kill them in 5 seconds. It's not even like an event. It's just go there to get a mediocre treasure chest or whatever, and then you move on. Now it should actually be a fight, and you get a huge reward for it. To me, that's way more fun. So, but be careful if you're playing on hardcore. Don't assume the world bosses are as you know them. And then finally is Blood Harvest, the new mechanic for season 2. I mean, I haven't played it. There's no secret PTR. I don't have any insider knowledge. I've never done this before. I'm going to assume that doing this would be last. Do an event first. Do the Legion event first, and then do the dungeon that's paired with the Grim Favors so you can get the mega turn-in. But when everything is down and there's nothing to do, I would be running around in this zone. It's kind of like a permanent Helltide. That way you can advance your vampiric powers and be ready for the higher world tiers. It is possible that this Blood Harvest is way better than I think it is. So take a temperature of it, try it, and see how rewarding you feel it is. If it's way better than I'm thinking that it is, well, then you can prioritize it over other things. But I'm just guessing like everybody. It's like a downpour out there. If I get disconnected, I'm going to be mad, YouTube. Okay. Some nice ASMR rain in the background. When you're close to 15, grab any codex powers that you need. You're playing the Bone Spear build, go get the Bone Spear power. You're playing Twisting Blade, go get the Twisting Blade power. Then you're going to need to get your class mechanic. Necros don't need to get theirs until they're 25, but everyone else will get theirs at 15. And then you just go all the way to 48-ish, go back to the old world and just keep blasting. Have fun, do whatever you see. Everyone's going to that one event, haha, okay, go do that. Legion event over here, 5 Grim Favors in this dungeon over there. Just blast. When you go to the capstone, upgrade your weapons before you go in. Put on your Elixir of Death Evasion if you're playing hardcore and bind it. Clear the capstone. Here's a cute one. I would not have known this if I hadn't spent all this time leveling up the Nightmare Dungeon tier list, which will be the next video that I will explain to you. But let me give you a hint. Before you go to World Tier 3, go up here and complete this stronghold. The reason why is this stronghold unlocks the second best Nightmare Dungeon. So even though the stronghold is kind of a waste of time and you don't have to do it anymore because you don't need the renown, you do want to sneak up here and do this. You want to do it before you go to the higher tiers, because the higher tiers are going to have more rewards. You would rather do the worthless, task early on than later on. There is another stronghold that you have to do down here for another one of the, I think it's not Alcarnus, it's one of these, it's Altar of Ruin, I believe. You have to do Altar of Ruin for another Nightmare Dungeon, but this Nightmare Dungeon sucks. So if you want to, you can just skip this one because you never need to run that Nightmare Dungeon anyway. Okay, so go clear the top left stronghold is a cute little hint that I figured out today running through everything. Okay, go to World Tier 3, pick your endgame build on Maxroll. We go back to the overworld, here we go. And now Helltide is in the mix, and Helltide has a massive buff. Remember, these Fiend Roses and these Forgotten Souls are very, very valuable. You'll probably be very low on them. So when Helltide comes up, go do it. And again, they buffed Helltide a lot, so it should be great. About now, life should be good. You should have pretty much your full vampiric powers. You should have a full set of sacred gear. You should have a decent amount of legendary powers. Don't worry about doing nightmare dungeons before like 57. You don't need to do them. Don't worry about it. The glyph XP sucks in world tier 3 anyway. But at some point, you've got to get in there and start doing the nightmare dungeons. I think the XP is going to be higher, and eventually you do have to get your glyphs up. So for the majority of world tier 3, I'd just still be in the overworld. But now it's time to clear them. Make sure you get your first Nightmare Dungeon sigil from a round of Grim Favors. Again, you will have this for free because you were already in the overworld. Everyone that was doing the other things won't have this. And then complete the dungeons at the quest at the Occultist. You can salvage and craft stuff. You should have your renown done unless you're a new player. The Nightmare Dungeon tier list, that's the next video I'm going to talk about. I'm going to explain to you how I did this, even though I couldn't run the Nightmare Dungeons. It's not going to be perfect, but it should be close. The main thing to take away from this is these are the ones you kind of shouldn't run. Everything at the bottom, you should try to avoid these. And you should really try to run these. If you min-max that, your XP per hour to 100 is going to be way faster. Many pay attention to seasonal theme vampiric powers. If you're leveling in the overworld, you will already have these. And don't kill every single monster in Nightmare Dungeons. They made them a lot more efficient in terms of layout. Hopefully there's going to be some density buffs, and they also removed almost all of the objectives. So clear the density, kill the boss, and keep moving on. Again, I would still be paying attention to Helltide. Helltide now is going to be your most valuable thing. You were barely running this before because it wasn't available to you in World Tier 1 and 2. But in World Tier 3, it has been available, and you need these resources to be able to craft. Remember, they massively buffed gold, and they nerfed the crafting costs. So you should be good on gold. This should be one of the only things you could ever run out of. If you do Helltide every time that it's up, you will never be out of it, and you're just going to be a happy camper all the time. When you get to these higher world tiers, now you need to kill the world bosses on spawn. They spawn much more often now, so they're going to give you substantially more rewards. I don't know what that means, but I believe Blizzard, I guess. So let's go see how they are. Remember, on hardcore, they're way harder. When you get to world tier 3 and 4, you used to be able to destroy them instantly. It's going to be different, potentially. Then you do the capstone, you go to world tier 4. Remember your elixir of death evasion. You should be real strong by now. And then the best way going forward is Nightmare Dungeons. If you're having fun in the overworld and you want to do that, fine. You can just keep doing it. Don't let me tell you how to play. Play however you want. That's why we have 2 leveling guides, or maybe you can come up with something else. But remember something. You need to get your glyphs to level 15. So, and I'll be honest with you, they buffed glyph XP for the rate at which you increase. They buffed glyph XP by 19%, but you level 40% faster. It's going to be real hard to get your glyphs to 21, even if you spend 100% of your time at this point in Nightmare Dungeons. So I would advise you, toward the end, you should be spending at least a lot of your time in Nightmare Dungeons, because the glyphs are going to matter when you fight the Uber bosses. A couple of last minute things to not forget, I'm sure you guys know. And then at the end, you're going to fight the Uber bosses. And congratulations, Blizzard queued up another round of Nerf Barb for you hitting 100. Now, the tryhard method is similar. We don't have to go through this in as much detail. You really should not do this unless A, you just love dungeons and you can't stand the thought of going to the overworld, or you want to race. If you want to race, this is probably going to be a faster method. If you're racing, probably need to go on World Tier 2. And again, you got to at least initiate the vampire quest. If you don't initiate it, then you're not going to get anything when you do dungeons. Even though most of the seasonal stuff is directed at the overworld, I'm expecting they're going to put some stuff inside of dungeons. So if you don't do the vampiric quest line, if it's like season 1, you won't be able to get anything. So make sure you at least start with that. From here, you're going to go to the dopamine tunnels. The dopamine tunnels are pretty infamous at this point. Wow. This would be the ultimate season start. The dopamine tunnels has a whisper for 5 Grim Favors on it. That's the dream. You would go in here and just erase all of the density. You don't go further into the dungeon. You don't complete it. You only do the beginning part. Then you T to go to town. And then you hit J to reset all dungeons. And then go back in your portal. it'll put you at the door in a brand new dungeon over and over and over. Delete, delete, delete. I never said it was fun. It actually is kind of fun though, because there's a lot of density in there, and you're just going to be flying. Same thing. Get your class mechanic at 15. Necros are at 25. Back to the tunnels until 48. Go do the capstone. Still got to clear that the Hope's Light stronghold in the top left, because you're going to need it later. And back to the tunnels at least till about 57, maybe even higher, because if the world, they made an adjustment, now your level scales with you, so it might even be longer than 57 or whenever you want. At some point you can switch to Nightmare Dungeons, go to World Tier 4, and then it's back to Nightmare Dungeons until 100. Okay, so it's pretty much the exact same leveling guide, very minimal changes. It's just what you do is completely different. All the overworld stuff, Grim Favors, Tree of Whispers, versus staying in a dungeon and resetting it as fast as you possibly can. We'll both converge at the same spot. In World Tier 4, we'll both converge to blasting Nightmare Dungeons. But I'm 100% sure, I guarantee you, if you level up in the overworld version, you're not going to be that far behind. It used to be a colossal difference. And that's why Blizzard was sick of it. This is where all these XP bonuses come to just the overworld. But you are going to be far better geared. You're going to have way more materials. You're going to be way more comfy. And everybody else is going to be sweating, like swinging a stick, and be essentially naked from not getting any good armor from anything. And that, my friends, is pretty much the leveling guide. That's exactly how you do it. I've tested these things, and they should work very well. In the event in the next few days that I find anything out, I will adjust it in this sheet. It's always in this sheet. So if I figure something out, I'll adjust it. But you have all the steps right here. Sometimes, this isn't very often, but sometimes people ask me to give like a different version with a white background and black text so they can print it out. But we want to save the trees, guys. Come on, it's 2023. Let's try to use the digital version if we can to save some trees, okay? All right. Next video is going to be Nightmare Dungeon tier list. Then there's going to be the overall tier list, all the best build guides. I got to get to work, so let me end this video and let's keep going. Thank you.